Hello everybody, apologies if I just look like I'm after falling out of space. It is currently 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm just basically after nearly getting up out of bed to go to work. So if you see this uploaded later on, it was pre-scheduled to be uploaded later on this evening. Because it's the only time I got space. So just to say before anybody thinks I just fell out of the sky. I want to briefly just touch on, and we talked about this I think already in the community post, but the lack of turnout, particularly during the election, I don't think it's surprising to be totally honest. You see the trend from 2016. 2016 it was 60 something, 68% or so. Now in 2020, a few years ago, it was 63, which sounds great. But then when you get to this year, in 2024, it was 59.6% or 59.5%, depending on which one. The figure was around that point, pretty much. But yeah, so long story short, it went down by 3%, or give or take 3%. And it's going to keep going down because, again, especially a lot of people feel disheartened, and I wouldn't blame them after the election results because people wanted change, people wanted something to change, anything to change. But unfortunately, we get the same old, same old. There's nothing really going to change. Maybe 1% difference, maybe something might be different a bit. The bankers and the bondholders will get a big, huge sum of money. More than the ever did they get a big lump sum for voting them in. But yeah, apart from that, and the landlords too be well looked after. They probably don't pay any tax now at all. Then the corporations too be well looked after too. They be crown king of all Ireland between the corporations. But yeah, long story short, for the only Joe, it's not that nice. For anybody else, it's okay. The 1%, it's okay. Everybody's delighted that the same government got in again, so they can get off with murder pretty much and make their witches of millions of euro. But for the only Joe, it's not that great. And then for the older people too, that's who voted Fianna Fáil Fine Gael. But I just want to briefly touch, because straight away after the election results came out in the poll, particularly on Friday, I was looking at social media, was looking at Facebook, was looking at Twitter particularly. And you could see a lot of young people, even though I don't vote for people for profit or vote for Sinn Féin, I don't agree with them parties. But still, nonetheless, the young people had a lot of faith. And I could see a lot of people even before the election saying, this is the only chance I have to save myself from having to go to Australia or to Canada. And there was multiple times I've seen that. It must have been 30 to 40 times. I've seen young people saying that before the election was counted. And just to see it after the election, like, to be totally honest, it's heartbreaking. There's people literally in their 30s and literally saying that's the end of it. That's all the hope I had. I'm done. And to hear that from a young person at 30, with the whole life ahead of them, to hear that that's the last straw, that it's time to go to another country, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking because it's just not one person, it's many people. And unfortunately, the sad reality is there's going to be so many people leaving the country now in the next few years. There's going to be more than ever, probably more than any than the famine times, because it's pretty much sealed the fate of many young people in this country that they can't make a life for themselves because pretty much the same crowd are in again that has done nothing in the last 14 years. So they're not going to do anything now in the next 5 years, to put it nicely. But I just want to talk too, because obviously a lot of people lost faith in democracy, have lost faith in the system. And the voting thing, I say probably less than 50% next time. Like, there'll be nobody nearly voting next time, whenever that may be. But not many people will vote. People have lost faith. As we speak now, it's the lowest in Europe, really, pretty much, across the European Union. It's very low turnout compared to, in the other countries, mainly nearly 70 to 60. In that range, it's very low. It's getting lower and lower every year. And even the electoral committee itself said there were so many people that wasn't supposed to be on the register because they've moved away or passed away, etc., etc. But that has to be looked into, etc., etc. But long story short, there's not going to be many young people voting. There's not going to be anybody really voting in the next election because people are just sick and tired of it all, and that's the main thing. People are just sick and tired and fed up with the whole lot of it. And to a certain extent, me, but I still have hope because we've seen with the referendums the things can change by voting, etc., etc. It's only when people get really wired up. And unfortunately, again, there was a lot of fear-mongering by Fianna Fáil Fine Gael. If we vote any other party, particularly with Trump getting in, with tariffs, etc., etc., or the whole economy blow up into a million pieces. That's what they more or less fear-mongered over. And a lot of people listen to that. A lot of older people listen to it particularly. Because to be totally honest, that's pretty much what happened, really. Because that's pretty much what they said, pretty much, when Fianna Fáil, particularly, which I don't think it's just the same tariffs. I would talk about eventually sometime, But I don't think Donald Trump will put huge tariffs on Ireland, because again, you have to remember, and I don't think any of the politicians realise this, that Ireland has one of the most special connections with the United States of America, more than any other country in the world. Our history, etc., etc., the history of Irish people having to go to the United States and fighting in the American Civil War, fighting for the Union. The Irish Brigade, the 69th Irish Brigade in the Union Army during the American Civil War was known as the best of the best, the bravest of the bravest. So we have a huge connection to the United States of America. That connection that many other countries take, for example, as somebody said to me in Finland, they don't have that connection to the arsenal of democracy, to the land of the free, basically, the United States of America. But we have it. We, as Irish people, we do have it. Because the majority of people in America, if we went over now, Irish people, they say, I'm Irish. Like, I was in Finland, I met an American woman, and straight away, as soon as you're from Ireland, my great-grandfather was from Ireland. And you're just like, oh no, not again. But you get what I'm saying. Like, every American nearly has Irish ancestors, so some way back. So that's what I'm saying. Even Donald Trump too has Irish connections. So we have to use that to our advantage, because there's so many Irish over there, and there's so many Irish that are voting, generations of Irish that are voting in the United States of America for presidents, councillors, whatever it may be. And it's that's important. It's important to keep that connection alive, etc. So it's important spiritual connection, I suppose. But yeah, that's a different subject for another day, I suppose. But just to briefly touch on that, because Fianna Fáil Gael didn't even mention that. They were more or less saying, oh, the whole place will blow up. But it's if we use it to the right way, if we use it to our advantage, that connection. That's what I'm trying to say. But I don't think they will, because they don't care about Ireland's history. They don't care about what happened in the past. They just care about whatever they do, whatever their agenda is, pretty much. But yeah, no, it's pretty sad. Just going to the main topic, it's just a pretty sad state of affairs, because I can't tell you how many young people could be leaving now in the next few years, in the next few weeks, the country forever. Because pretty much this was the only chance for a lot of young people to change something. Even if it's 1% change, it would be better for anybody. But unfortunately, there'll be no change. It's just going to be the meager amount of change. It's like literally a centimetre of change. Like the very minimum of change, pretty much. That's what's going to happen here, unfortunately. So we see what happens anyway, but I'm afraid that a lot of young people have lost faith. A lot of people in general too have lost faith in voting. And I suppose it does raise the question, this is the next thing I need to talk about, because many people did say it. Like a few people, particularly in the media, that were kind of floating this out. And when the media starts floating it out, particularly OT and News Talk, etc., etc., you're kind of like straight away, they're trying to do something here, the government, because that's pretty much what they tell the media to do. Float this idea out, see what the reaction is, and we go from there. But yeah, they were talking about mandatory voting. Now, first of all, I talk about it in a whole nother video. I suppose there's a whole nother kettle of fish there. But mandatory voting, I think they have it in Australia and stuff like that. But I think people have the right, and should have the right, should have the right, of course, to decide if they want to vote or not. Because some people I knew just didn't want to vote at all. They were registered to vote, etc., etc., just wouldn't bother to vote, because they're pretty much one and the same. If you vote Fianna Fáil, you get Fine Gael. If you vote Sinn Féin, you get the West again. There's pretty much no difference between all the mainstream parties. So a few of them I knew didn't vote. And a lot more probably didn't vote too, because they were just sick of the whole fucking lot of it. And at the end of the day, they're right to do that. They're entitled to say, I don't, this election, I don't want to vote for anybody. Take, for example, they might have voted in the referendum back in March. Fair enough, because people had, strong opinions, etc., etc. But in the general election too, maybe they just were like, I don't care, to be totally honest. Even though you should care, but, a lot of people probably were like, just fuck it, I'd all the one and the same. And you wouldn't, again, that's their right, I suppose, at the end of the day, for a person to decide, I don't want to vote. Because I don't think it's fair to force people at gunfight, literally, to go and vote. I don't think we should do that in this country. I don't think we should ever do it in this country. I think it should be something that people want to do themselves, to reflect change, etc., etc., vote for change themselves. I don't think forcing people is going to do anything. I don't think it's right, or fining anybody to vote, not to vote, not if they don't vote, etc., etc. I don't think that's right. It might increase turnout, it might increase votes, but I don't think so. I wouldn't say so. But I would say we shouldn't bring it in, as simple as that. I don't believe we should. At the end of the day, democracy is about your right, and I don't think forcing people out to vote against their will is not going to help it. Especially when you remember this, people have lives nowadays, families, etc., etc. People, I knew some people that didn't have time to vote because they have two children, have to mind them, to go to work, etc., etc. They have enough things on the plate without having to worry about politicians getting in or out. And to be totally honest, I agree with them 100%. Like when you have two children and you have a job, you have to try and balance two things. What the fuck do you care if a politician gets in or out at all, Aaron? They won't do any good for you. As one mother said to me, they won't do any good for her. That's pretty much, and she's not wrong. She has to go out and work. There's no politician coming to help her look after the children or anything like that, and she's totally right in that regard. Because I don't see any politician coming in and saying, "Oh, I look after your children. You go out and vote, and I look after your children. I go to work for you, do your job for you," because they die of it. But yeah, we see what happens. But again, I'm very much against it. I don't think we should. It's about that 100%. Don't think we should. But anyway, thank you, everyone. Let me know what you think, especially about that and about the things. Were you looking forward to the election? Are you disappointed? Because I'm sure everybody says, but I will agree, I'm a bit disappointed in the election results. But again, it was either Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Féin, and a left group. So pretty much we were fucked either way, to be done. In my opinion, I think we were fucked either way, to be told. And we're fucked if we don't, we're fucked if we do. Pretty much in that regard. I don't think there was any change. The only change I was hoping for, there would be a few independents that would wire a few things up, rattle a few fettles. But I don't think so. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like the independents did that well this election. Unfortunately. But yeah, if we got a few independents that took a lot of seats off the major political parties, that would have been better. Just to deny them the numbers. But yeah, thank you. Let me know what you think. Bye.